20th of August 2023 and episode 175 of This and That and What the Fuck Else. In this episode I'm going to talk a bit about the EU and there's a few things about the green stuff and then some stuff from the Ukraine. And the back page will make the mana smile and the last image I'm telling you now is a computer generated image. In other words, it's not a real woman. Things are rough here in South Africa, politically. This moonshot pact, which I baptized as shit shot, has now been changed, their name. But things doesn't look too calm and collected in that bunch. But my position is clear. I don't trust any politicians. None of them. I don't trust any one of them. For the simple reason they're all tarnished and they're all there for the package of pay and they must listen to their master's voice. Nothing to do with us, the people. Nothing. And then there is obviously a lot of these things about the racism narrative that's driven in South Africa. There are black voices coming up now against it, and it seems like there is some people that realize it. It's actually a tool used by the XXX to control and destroy our society and make us manageable and controllable. And but yet there's others that are stuck to it. They can't get out of that groove. I ask around about what do the people think is the biggest problem for South Africa, and not a single one has referred to that 17 million SASA kids that are in school in the age 6 to 18. Nobody talks about that. Now, there's no way that our economy can absorb those people. Point number one, they don't have skills. They're poorly educated and they don't have skills. So I don't know what the plan is, how they're going to handle that. That is, for me, an eye-opener. That none of the parties that I ask refers to that problem. Nobody. Talk about poverty, unemployment and all of that, and corruption. But that 17 million school-going kids, there is the problem. And then there are people that accept that education is a major issue. Now the reality of education is this: that cannot be solved in less than 2 generations, provided the authorities really focus on it, which we know they won't do. They don't do it. They won't focus on it. But let's start with the slideshow from Russia. Vologda is a city in the administrative center located on the river Vologda, within the watershed of the northern Dvina. Population is 314,000 people. The official founding year of Vologda was 1147. During the reign of the Tsar Ivan the Terrible, Vologda became one of the major transit centers of Russia's trade. And now the city serves as a major transport hub of the northwest of Russia. Enjoy. Looks like an interesting city. It would be fun to walk around there. And then we get to this, and the corruption to kick off the show. Hello South Africa, this is Jabu Mbalula. Mbalula Fikile's older brother, who is a ghost worker at the Mangaung Metro Municipality, who apparently costs the council millions in salaries every year. He has never reported for a single day at work. And that's the problem. And they want to tell me poverty is the problem in South Africa. Why are the people poor? There's your answer. And then we get to this. And can you believe it? They knew. Why didn't the unvaccinated do more to warn us? Now, I'm not going to read the whole thing. You can read through it and see. But it is, for me, absolutely mind-blowing that they can come out now and make a statement like that. And then there is more. The snakebite is to reduce population. Sex reassignment is to reduce the population. After-birth abortion is to reduce population. Planned Parenthood is to reduce population. Nearly every government program is designed to reduce the population. Get the picture? You should. And then we're in the EU. Eva Vlaarderingbroek tweeted this. In 2 days, an EU regulation will go into effect that allows for Achita domesticus, aka house crickets, to be added to flour, bread, pasta, etc. as an authorized novel food for the general population. They want you to eat bugs without you knowing it. And then I did read an article, and I think I spoke about it in one of my Skidmarks, that there's something in the exoskeleton of insects, like chitin or something like that, which is extremely poisonous for humans, and it causes cancer. And then more from Holland. Holland entering major financial crisis. The Dutch economy has entered a recession after falling for 2 consecutive quarters. The Eurozone's 5th largest economy shrank 0.3% quarterly between April and June, after a 0.4% contraction in the first 3 months of the year. Netherlands is facing its first recession since the pandemic, driven by weak exports and lower household consumption, as surging inflation pushed up food prices and energy bills, according to the CBS. Dutch economic growth reached almost 5% per year in 2021, and in 2022 in a quick recovery from the COVID-19 crisis. All I can say is that the European citizens allowed that Politburo, that e-Politburo sitting in Brussels, to do all of this to them without resisting. And then there's a flashback for the men, real men. You remember her? And this is for my generation. This is in the late 60s. Brigitte Bardot. What a looker she was. And that is what a woman looks like to the confused people. And then we get to the green stuff. People shall govern, tweet it. China is building 13 coal-fired stations. Japan is building 23 coal-fired stations. Germany is restarting 16 coal-fired stations. South Africa is shut down Eskom 25 coal-fired stations. This country must be saved from the claws of the auctioneers, which I think is very good advice. And here are some facts. The deepest fossils are found up to 16,000 feet. Petroleum is drilled down to 40,000 feet. The Earth makes petroleum continuously through a process called serpentization, which would never run out. CO2 is a gas of life. Without it, plants would die, and so would we. But they tell you it's fossil fuel. They're talking bullshit. And then you have this. Who has already decarbonized their electricity grid? Norway. Look at that. 93% hydro and the 7% is wind. Finland, 40% is nuclear. Then they've got hydro, they've got biomass, and they've got wind. Switzerland, 58% hydro. And then they've got the other big cut is nuclear, and then Sweden the same, France the same, Brazil 64% hydro, and then you can see the others there. Interesting. And then we get to this. If carbon dioxide is so bad for the planet, why do greenhouse growers buy CO2 generators to double plant growth? And that is a damn good question. I handled it in one of my Skidmarks about the production gains if they up the CO2 in the greenhouses and the plants are more virulent and the resistance to pests and sickness. But these greenies keep on telling us CO2 is the bad boys. And then this is something interesting. Almost any building, school or parking lot could be turned into a solar power plant and provide clean energy for our cities and homes. And then he says, retweet if you think more buildings should get solar energy. Now the thing is this, here in South Africa, a hell of a lot of solar has been erected by homeowners and businesses. But we don't see a change in the load shedding. It seems to me the more solar the people put up, the less Eskom produce. And then we have this. The writer, coal is not king, phase it out for renewables. The government should support independent power producers to come online faster. Now this is an old thing. This was on February 6, 2023. That's around about the time when Ramaphosa visited Biden and came back, and within a week after he was back, the writer was on the green wagon. Prior to that, he was not. He was for baseload coal stations. And in a week, he changed his tune. Now, this is something that you can read and think about it. It was from a Popular Mechanics. A tiny ape-like humanoid may still be living in plain sight, scientists say. Is an ape-like humanoid still living among us? And they ask the question. So, something to think about. And then we get to the memes. Look at this one. Quite a story in this cartoon. Quite a story. Russia and China is on solid ground, and these warmongers, they're in a boat full of holes. And then we get to this one. This one made me laugh. Look at that teacher. Look at what he looks like. And he says, who are you? Correct answers. Kitten, Napoleon, alien, transgender, gay, Naburu. And then this girl says, what do you think, Marty? And Marty responds, I think it's time to move to Russia. And this one is for the guys. 90% of women who wear yoga pants don't do yoga. 100% of straight men don't care. And I must agree with that. And then we get to NATO. Now yesterday I did a Skidmark on NATO, Stoltenberg, that said maybe they should use a first strike on Russia. And Prof. Zenker says, nuclear war between the US and Russia would kill over 5 billion people. Anyone who calls you weak or a Russian troll for bringing this up is an enemy of all life on this planet. Negotiate now. And it says in that article, just the suit from a week-long nuclear war would cause a global catastrophe. And as I said in my previous Skidmark, the scientists reckon that 6 weeks after such a thing happens, the whole Earth will go into a nuclear winter. With average temperatures minus 70, and it should last between 105 and 120 years. Something to think about. And this is just something for those guys that are forever blaming the whites for everything that is wrong in their lives. Look at this. The top picture is that ODI stadium in the height of apartheid, and that is in Botswana. Look how it's packed for that soccer game. And then you look at it at the bottom. The people of the Northwest Province have been dealt a huge blow by a lame government of the ANC. And that is how the blacks how they destroy their own lives. This is how they do it. They maintain nothing. And here's another picture of that stadium. Look at it. And you should actually weep. And then we get to this map. And this map indicates the different Islamic terror groups operational in Africa. And it is quite disturbing. Not a single country. The countries that escapes it is Zimbabwe, Namibia, Angola, Zambia, and Botswana. And then there in the Central Africa is a belt. But the rest of Africa, look at that. Even South Africa. This is scary, boys. And then we get to this, to the Ukraine. Countries that provide military aid to Kiev as of January 23. Look at that. This is all the countries that are supplying weapons to Kiev. They are killing their own economies to put weapons into Kiev. They don't care about their citizens. And it's stunning to think that all these blue countries that is indicated here are being manipulated by a few people sitting in a shithouse in Washington. But Moses 6 verse 6, stupid people must suffer. And then we get to this one. Ex-SBU officer Vasily Prozorov about corruption in Ukraine. There are no honest people in the leadership of the Ukrainian state. There are no people who are not tangled up in corruption schemes. Ukraine after 2014 is really a Klondike. You can't even imagine the scale. When they say that there is corruption in Russia, guys, you have not seen what is happening in Ukraine. Well, guys, if you see what's happening in South Africa, the Ukraine looks like a very, very, very honest place. And then we get to that depleted uranium. Ukraine should not allow the use of depleted uranium shells on their soil, as these could have long-term consequences for the health of future generations, the Serbian health minister said in an interview with Sputnik. The minister added that it is scary to use such weapons in terms of health. She said that the cancer in patients in Serbia after 1999 NATO bombing became less predictable and more likely to be fatal. And you see the same from Fallujah. But the British, the fucking British, they gave them depleted uranium shells. And that Zazi government sitting in Kiev, we've got no problem of using that ammunition. This is unforgivable. But the West will pay for these things. And then we get to this. Now, you hear me talk about Triple X a lot. Here is one of the kingpins of Triple X, and look at that fucking cretin. Look at that. Look at that thing. What the hell is that? But he's got a movable lot of control over all of us. He's in control of most governments in the West. Sick. And then we get to this one. Mzwanele Manye. This is a guy from the ANC, and if I remember correctly, he has walked over to the EFF now. Dear fellow blacks, how come it is only us that queue up outside Gucci and Louis Vuitton in Sandton? How come it is us in the main that buy top-of-the-range caskets only to bury them 6 feet underground? Yet we are the poorest on things that really matter. Make it make sense. Well, that's a good request, but he's not going to get any answers. And then we get to that back page for the manna. Take a good look, and for those, the prudent ones, prudes, close your eyes. Here she goes. This was the day for the blondies, except for that last image, and as I said in the beginning, that last image, that is a graphic, that is not a real woman. I hope you enjoyed the show. Please give me a like and a subscribe and share the thing. Thank you for your support.